Major question for the Vikings this offseason is what is going to happen with star running back Dalvin Cook. Now, he made the Pro Bowl last year, another 1,000-yard season, 4 straight in both, but career low 4.4 yards per carry, also is going to be 28, so it's getting up there in running back age. And for the Vikings, well, initially it looked like Kevin McConnell was going to move a lot more 3 wide and throw the ball all over the lot, as evidenced by last season. But then you look at the signing of Josh Oliver, the best blocking tight end in the game, to be tight end 2 with TJ Hawkinson as tight end 1, and then resigning CJ Ham, and all of a sudden it looks like the Vikings are going to get back to pounding the rock, which I'm kind of okay with. And now the question is, what's going to happen with Dalvin Cook, especially after Alexander Mattison was extended on a 2-year deal? Now, with Mattison, he would have had options in free agency. He could have gone somewhere else, probably could have been a running back 1. Now, he said that there was no discussion of what was going to happen with Dalvin. I don't know, man. I don't think that he would resign so quickly here in Minnesota if unless there was an inkling that Dalvin could potentially be moved. Now, obviously, they work very well together. Obviously, they're good friends in that running back room, and with them, with Dalvin and Madison and Ty Chandler and Kincaid and Wangu, that's a pretty damn good running back room, man. But with Dalvin, so had the shoulder surgery, wasn't able to pass the physical on the first day of the new league year, so $2 million of his $10.4 million base salary became injury guaranteed. And he's had shoulder issues off and on over the last couple of years, so now the surgery should clear things up. But what is going to happen? And I actually don't think that we're going to get an answer anytime soon, because after the $2 million became guaranteed, everything else is moot. The Vikings would save $6 million in cap space by cutting him. They would save $8 million by trading him. But since the draft is coming up, and since teams are already spent up in free agency, and you look at some of the lower and mid-tier running backs that move around the league, I don't see a team trading for Dalvin anytime soon. And since there's no deadlines coming up with this contract, I think that this thing is going to play out. And the only date that matters now is if he's on the roster week 1 of the season, because then his $10.4 million base salary would be fully guaranteed. So actually, I think what's going to happen is they're going to go through OTAs. They're going to go through mandatory minicamp, summer break. Dalvin and the Vikings are going to be in training camp together preseason, where he probably won't play much anyway. And I think what the Vikings will do is, if there's an injury around the league at running back, all of a sudden Dalvin's name's going to keep popping up, because I don't think Kwesi's 100% sold on having Dalvin back, just because of his analytics approach. Generally, you don't pay running backs top dollar. Generally, you don't have $25 million in cap space tied up in one position room, which the Vikings do, with CJ Ham included. And I think what's going to happen is that the Vikings will look to potentially trade him before the season, because, I mean, if they trade him now, or if they trade him like a day before 53-man rosters are set, it's the same thing, right? And absent that, like, if they don't trade him, I think what Kwesi will do, I think he's going to play hardball with Dalvin. I absolutely think that he will. And Kwesi, I respect him because he's running the team, and it's a ruthless business sometimes. And that's exactly what they did with Adam Thielen. Pay cut or cut. Thielen took the cut. Harrison Smith, pay cut or cut. Harrison took the pay cut. Same thing with Ross Blacklock. Same thing with Jordan Hicks. And Kwesi, I think he's going to do the same thing with Dalvin, where they'll get to be the start right before the start of the season, right before 53-man roster cuts are due, and they'll be like, hey, Dalvin, either you take a pay cut from 10.4 down to 6 with some incentives, or 5 with some incentives, or we're going to cut you and you'll be in the wind. Like, yeah, someone will pick him up in free agency, but it probably won't be before the start of week 1, so that means he won't have a guaranteed contract. It probably won't be for a ton of money, given the running back contract situation, as well as him being 28. He'll have to learn a brand new system on the fly. He'll have to do this, that, and the other thing. So the Vikings will have leverage, and I think ultimately that's what's going to happen. And it sucks, because I'm very pro player getting their money, but like I said, the business is the business, and this happens every single year with every single team. Like, they use that inflection point of the 53-man roster cut downs to really leverage and lean on some veterans who don't have guaranteed contracts to take a pay cut or a cut. And like I said, timing wise, it really sucks for the player, because what are you going to do? Like, if you got kids, they're starting school, and also, are you going to go find a new team? Are you going to get as much as the pay cut that's being offered? Are you going to learn a brand new system on the fly? Probably not. So That's my prediction for what's going to happen with Dalvin. I think absent a trade, I think that they'll get to right before the start of the regular season, and then they'll leverage a pay cut, and then Dalvin's going to run angry for the Vikings, which I'm kind of okay with. And frankly, I'm okay with them getting back to being heavy. Obviously, they can throw the ball, but being able to run the ball in high leverage spots, especially 4th and 1, be kind of nice. But that's it. Talk about Dalvin. Skull, no production value.